You're with the Pod News Weekly Review. I'm James Cridland. The full show is already in your feed, but this year we're adding the full interviews in this feed too every Monday, and we're sponsored by Buzzsprout. Start podcasting. Keep podcasting. Today, joining us from, I think, New York somewhere, the CEO of Audioboom, Stuart Last. Hello, Stuart.
Hi, James. Yeah, New York City. Well, Brooklyn, actually, just outside of the Manhattan Center, but Brooklyn, New York, yeah.
Well, there we are. You're somebody that'll be at On Air Fest, I'm sure.
It's literally 2 blocks from my house, so I have no excuses.
There you go. You've got no excuses whatsoever. So you will have had this conversation many times over the holiday period when somebody sidles up to you and says, "So, I hear you work at something called Audioboom. What is Audioboom, Stuart?"
You know what? After 10 years of doing this, hopefully all of my family know exactly what it is, but they still get confused. They still think it's radio. It takes a long time, obviously. Audioboom is a podcast platform that powers podcasting for creators. So we partner with independent podcast creators, and our platform, our technology platform, distributes their content, markets their content, monetizes their content, does everything that they need from us so that they can focus on being creative and creating great content, and we can do the other pieces for them. And we do that at a kind of pretty massive scale, over 100 million downloads a month, and 8,000 different podcasters use us. And the thing that I'm most proud of is the fact that we've made more than $250 million for independent podcast creators over the last 7 years, and that's really the mission of our business is to support podcasters, the companies that they are creating, the 8,000 plus individuals that we work with. We are able to deliver value for them, make this more than just a hobby. Allow them to really focus on podcasting, and we do that very well.
Now, talking about numbers, you've published a trading update really fast off the block for the calendar year 2024. That was really fast. You must have some excellent accountants. What was in your trading update? Because it all looked pretty good news to me.
We do have excellent accountants, just 2 of them. Two-person finance team. We're a very small team at Audioboom. We have around 37, 38 of us, and it's a really great team. And our finance team are always close the books pretty quickly. And so you'll always see from Audioboom, we're the first ones to be releasing data. I think the first ones to put out our results, and we do that pretty quickly at the end of the year. 2024 was a fantastic year for us. Good revenue growth, 13% revenue growth. We delivered $73.4 million of revenue. And we were profitable again. So during the ad market recession of 2022 into 23, we went backwards. We went back into loss-making territory as a business. But I'm really pleased that we've come out of that. We're profitable again. And just being profitable allows us to support more and more people in the podcasting space. So really good sign, I think, for us. But when we're putting these numbers out, I think what I'm really aware of is hopefully the trends that we are seeing, the return in health of the podcast advertising market, us also pushing through the Apple iOS change that removed a lot of our inventory last year. Hopefully those same trends are being seen by other people, and the other networks and companies are seeing things trending upwards as well, because I think that we are very much of the opinion here that we're in the early days of podcasting still, and the more that we can share in this success, the better it is for all of us.
Yeah, indeed. Total revenue for the year up 13% to 73 million. When I was looking at Acast's accounts, they seemed to suggest that the US was doing fantastically for them and that Europe was a bit more sluggish for them. Is that what you're seeing too, or are you seeing a different story?
I think the US led the way on the way down, so they were hit first by the global events and macroeconomics and macroeconomic headwinds. So the US was hit first, and the UK was healthier for a while. The UK then followed into that, but the US has returned quicker than the UK. So I think there's just probably a 6 to 12 month lag time with UK podcasting falling behind US. So I'm hopeful that over the next 12 months our UK business will kind of trend in a positive direction as well. And we're also already seeing that. We're seeing a lot of brand interest in the UK and commitments from our advertising partners at a higher level than last year. So I think we're starting to see those shoots of the UK market improving too. Are
the BBC still talking about putting ads in their podcasts within the UK? Has that gone away yet, or is that still a thing?
I haven't heard much about it for probably 6 or so months, and I, like many other, I guess, competitor podcast networks, we did raise our concerns about that. I don't believe we've had much of a response on that just yet. Potentially it's gone away, but we shall keep monitoring that.
Yeah, I'm sure it's still on the burner from them. They just move quite slowly, having worked there. You've been quite busy signing new content partnerships as well, I notice, and renewing existing ones. But I did notice in your trading update that you say that you have managed to reduce your minimum guarantee obligations quite considerably. And that seems to be an industry trend, I think, is it?
Yeah, I think that if we rewind again back to, those years coming out of COVID and podcasting booming, us, like 6 or 7 other competitive networks, are pitching to work with the biggest podcasters in the space, those with large audiences, those with podcasts that really kind of fit our networks well. And generally in those negotiations through the Hollywood talent agents, those opportunities to work with those big podcasters are coming through UTA, WME, CAA, and other talent agents. We're asked to put together a proposal for those large podcasters. One element of that proposal is usually a minimum guarantee. So, that protects the talent, and this is obviously a talent business, and the value comes from the creator, from the talent. We will put together a minimum guarantee that we believe we can obviously deliver against in terms of advertising sales, but it allows the podcast creator to work with that reassurance that they will be paid for the work that they're doing. Now, in that bubble, that positive period for podcasting, those minimum guarantees moved up very quickly. It was a very, very competitive time. Us, like other networks, chased into risky areas and put higher minimum guarantees in place than otherwise we would have been comfortable with. But at the time, we were obviously seeing ad revenue growing all the time. And we were seeing podcasting heading forward very, very quickly. Now, the moment you put down those higher risk minimum guarantees, and the ad market turns, as it did in 22 and 23, we then have a situation where the ad revenue that we are selling for those podcasts isn't enough to cover that minimum guarantee. So then we true up that minimum guarantee, and we effectively are paying out of pocket to fund that podcast, rather than it coming from the advertising revenue. Now, Audioboom, I think, I'm so proud of this. We paid every single minimum guarantee to creators. We honored all of our contract obligations through that time, and that has helped us keep very good relationships with our podcasters, with those talent agents. And now we're coming out of the other side, and we are hitting those minimum guarantees regularly. That's not such a problem. And obviously, what we are looking to do, like many others, is still provide those minimum guarantees to talent and to podcasters, but in a more equitable way, something that's safer for us, but still reassures the talent that they will get paid for their work and for what they are worth. But it means that it doesn't put our company under any undue risk. So I think we're all working to find that more balanced level than a few years ago, and that has to be good for the medium term and long term of podcasting.
Now, I guess I have to mention Casefile, the biggest show here in Australia, which was an Audioboom show and is now no longer. Is your strategy in terms of content partnerships to ensure that you've got a wide, catalogue full of depth, rather than having a few case files, or what's your strategy there?
I think that one strategy, and less around the actual content and the verticals that this content sits with, our strategy is very much about ensuring that we don't have one massive show within our group that hurts us if it does ever leave us, right? Because as I said, this is a kind of competitive space. Podcasts move around. They're offered better deals from other networks. We need to kind of ensure that nothing in there becomes too big and hurts us if it was ever to move. So, I mean, what we do have in our network is, if you look at our top shows, we have a bunch of shows that do a fantastic job at delivering somewhere between 100,000 downloads per episode and 2 million downloads per episode. So that's the kind of the core that we work in, shows that are at that kind of level. We're not really working with the Smartlesses and Call Her Daddies, those $100 million plus shows. That's not our world. But what we do is very much operate in that midfield. I think for a while we were unsure as to whether podcasting, like other creator industries, would have a strong business within the midfield, but that's become clear that does exist, and that's where we operate. And you'll see that if you look at the Triton podcast ranker or the Edison podcast ranker. Audioboom is fourth, sometimes fifth, but usually fourth largest publisher in those rankers. There is iHeart and SiriusXM and Wondery and Spotify above us, but we're there firmly in fourth place as the leader in that next size of podcast.
We've just done a number of prediction shows, and I'm wondering what your predictions are for 2025. Where will the industry go? Are we in for another? I mean, firstly, will we hit the 2 billion figure in the US finally? But also, secondly, where do you see the big trends of the industry happening for this year?
I think in terms of business, we're getting back on the right track. And you can see that in the Audioboom results from last year, and then what we've said today about our 2025 plans so far. So one thing that we put out in our trading update was the fact that we have $54 million of revenue kind of already on the books today through the upfronts process, selling large chunks of advertising to key customers in that October and November time period upfront for the entire year. But I think not just that $54 million number is showing the health of what's coming this year. It's actually the pricing that's in there. So Audioboom didn't shift out to fully dynamically inserted ads or faked in live reads or whatever the best way to describe that is. We stuck with that fully baked in, woven into the fabric of the show live reads. We were able to continue selling those at a high price point, those converted for advertisers because it's the best way to do it. And that worked really well for us, and has allowed us over this time period to work with video podcasters very highly so. Podcasts that may only have 25% of their consumption on an RSS feed and 75% of their consumption on video on YouTube, we can monetize because we're baking those ads into the content of the show, so we can monetize the entire million audience that it has, for example. As we navigate video being a bigger part of podcast consumption this year as an industry, I think we're going to see more and more networks coming back to that baked in live read model, because that will allow them to access video, and again is proven to a big part of the advertising industry that it works, and that will help this advertising market improve and get strong again.
That's interesting. So much less programmatic ads, much less DAI, much more baked in, host read ads and things. Do you think that advertisers understand the benefit of that?
I think that there's a large group that does. I think that the ones that do not are the ones that also need a lot of education about what podcasting is. We've put a whole I say a whole team. It's 3 people. We're a small company. We put a team in place over the last year to go out and to attract those brand awareness advertisers. We do a great job with the direct response advertisers, those ones that have built their businesses around podcasting over the last 10 years and have been responsible for supporting podcasting so well. But we've been focused on getting out into those major agency holding companies, educating them on podcasting, making sure that we are in their plans for any large campaigns they have, and that's worked really well. We now work with 12 of the top 15 major agencies in the US. So they still need a lot of educating within their world, but I think more and more they're starting to understand the benefits of podcasting for their brands.
Well, for more information on Audioboom, you can go to audioboom.com, which is the flashy, lovely website with lots of information on it. Or if you just want the numbers, audioboompLC.com will dive you into the numbers, which is a slightly less exciting website, but doubtless much more exciting if you like numbers. Stuart, thank you so much for your time. It's wonderful to hear that Audioboom is doing so well. As you know, I was an advisor for your company back in 2009. No equity, sadly, but nevertheless, it's nice to see your company doing incredibly well. So thank you for your time today.
Thanks for having me, James, and I appreciate the kind words. Thank you.